Here we go. Are you ready? Hot Mics with Billy Bush starts in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
They say you get the journey you need, not the one you want. Psilocybin journey number 2 was a lot harder than number 1. Number 1 was pooping rainbows. So what happened? It's Hot Mics with Billy Bush, presented by our friends at LAGOLF. Hot Mics with Billy Bush. Great title. You know it. Well, thank you for joining us. This is Hot Mics on TuneIn and YouTube. I'm Billy Bush, and yeah, I said it. They say you get the journey you need, not the one you want. I did a psilocybin journey on September 11th, 2025. I was pooping rainbows all over the place. It was so beautiful. And then I did one October 11th, 1 month later. And if that was the journey I needed, then there is something dwelling inside of me that does not want to come out. I must be a toxic dumpster fire of a man. Whatever didn't want to come out never did. And then I wrote in my journal after the experience. We pick up right now at 15 hours after exiting the journey. Grateful for the experience. Indeed. Exactly 1 month prior, in the same home, with the same guide, laying down on the same mat, listening probably to very similar, if not the same music, I hit the jackpot and got both the journey I wanted and concluded right after that I needed. It was magical. It was euphoric. It was my first experience. I couldn't imagine a better one. It was healing. It was full of compassion for those I love and those who did me wrong in this life, even. A perfect 10 out of 10, I thought. I became an instant plant medicine disciple. What GLP-1s have done to the waistlines of America, psilocybin can surely do for our hearts, minds, and souls. And that may be true, but silly me, to fully dig into your subconscious and extract the real, authentic you, it's not really going to be a tiptoe through the tulips. How could it be? So, gleaned from the whisperings of my guides and facilitators, Ilan, who I had on the show after the first journey, and his wife Louisa, the married couple in their 70s. I think they, listened to what they were whispering before it began. They decided to give me a plant for presence, like to be present with the people in the moment you're in, and something called white lily, like a heart opener. Well, just like the month before, I took the first dose and waited about 40 minutes before ingesting the second. This time it was a hard pill that looked like sort of like an icebreaker, like a mint or a cert or one of those things. The second dose looked the same as the first journey, and that was 2 small capsules. And after I laid down after the second dose and waited for the journey to begin. It took longer to launch this time. And once it began, I immediately felt like this was going to be different. Not a traipse through La La Land, right? No visions, no loving encounters, no warm tears pouring down under the mask. Painful truths and observations were coming, and they certainly did. As the journey began, I got the message that I need to be more present with my children, right? When they share their insecurities and concerns, even joyous good news, sometimes I might be reading texts while periodically saying, wow, or, that's amazing, great. What's amazing is all they have to say to catch me. So I resolved to do better. When my youngest excitedly tells me about a test that she aced, or my middle one is, fretting about the emerging world around her and where she fits in, how's she going to make money, how's she going to have a house someday, and my eldest who needs to know I'm engaged and present in order to share anything personal, they need that from me. And it's not too late. That felt fair in the journey. I felt like I got that message. I agreed with it. Now, the woman who featured heavily in the first journey, a significant person from my life and past, was there again, encouraging me to engage with my girls and to be present with them. She was cheering me on from the side, insistent that my time with them take precedence over all relationships. What a nice thing from this person. And I saw other people, friends who saw the best in me, friends, family. And there are so many of them. An old friend from the TV business had just texted me that day, saying, I miss you. Do you miss laughing with me? I forgot to respond. I do, but back when we were laughing together, both of us were kind of happy and thriving in the biz. I'm out to reclaim that guy. I saw other people who see in me, somebody special. And this is where things started to change. In this call to presence, things began to turn dark. I wasn't in purgatory with demons all around me. The experience was less hallucinogenic and more of an achy, sort of heavy feeling. Then I noticed I had to pee. I'm a middle-aged man, okay? But there was no getting up. My body was too deep into the journey, gripped by whatever had gotten a hold of me. Eventually, it took all my might to roll over to one side, bringing a temporary relief to the bladder. The presence of the overactive bladder is one I know well, right? Somehow, in the first journey, though, the bliss that I was in supplanted the urge to go to the bathroom. Didn't have to go at all. I never even thought about it. I was too lost in love, compassion, connection. Yeah, not this time. It became the physical expression to my emotional discomfort, which was mounting. I've always struggled with discomfort. I can't really sit still in anything easily. It's why my attachment style, says Instagram, is textbook anxious avoidant, okay? For several years, I pushed and kind of pulled my way through a relationship with a woman who I wanted to keep close in case I magically healed and was able to be who she wanted me to be. And it's the reason, I guess, the one who got away or someone from my past many years ago eventually lost trust in me and did go away. It's left me kind of worried that I might not ever heal or whatever that is. Maybe this was the cause of the ache and the pain, right? The stress and the gut-wrenching angst that I felt for what had to be hours on that mat. Maybe it's a low self-esteem, I don't know, imposter syndrome, self-loathing, fear of abandonment that arose within me because it's what's keeping happiness at bay. I don't know. As the pain began and the ache and the angst, my little messenger left me, as she should. There was to be no hand-holding through this, I guess, anxiety. But the parting thought is what sticks with me now. She said, Bill, I don't know that you can love me the way I want to be loved. That hit me hard. It's what I saw in my first journey with my parents. They had a 55-year marriage, built an amazing family. But as I said to my mother after the inaugural journey, I said, I know Dad loved you. I'm not sure he loved you the way you wanted to be loved. Wow. Here it was, the man who I always admired and emulated, and I'm just like him, either unwilling or unable to get out of my head and shine light on the person to whom I say I love you. It occurred to me perhaps this brutal journey is more important than the first, for it's saving me from, selfish love, I guess. If that's the case, then it was worth it. It is the journey I needed, not the one I wanted. Look, I want to be a man who can love with all my heart, who's able to and happy to shine sunlight and sprinkle water on my partner and watch her grow. Her growth and joy should fill my heart and make me just as happy as my own. But to be clear, this journey wreaked havoc on my nervous system. The Uber ride home back to Manhattan was hard. Heavy anxiety, panic that I had done permanent damage to my brain, that the devil had gotten a hold of me, that my sins had delivered me this fate, that I'd never know joy again. When I arrived back to my apartment, unable, well, certainly unwilling to sit in it anymore, I texted my general practitioner, explained the situation, and requested permission to take a synthetic anti-anxiety pill. Literally the antidote to plant medicine. Tough shit, right? I'm the pilot here, and the plane is going down. Where's eject? He said, take 2 pills and never do that again. The jury's still out on that one. I'm generally a positive person, but, literally for 3 days after this journey, I was battling PTSD and anxiety like you cannot imagine. Ilan, my facilitator, tells me not to spend 1 minute thinking about a woman. Which woman will be the one that gets the remodeled better than ever Billy Bush? The universe will match the vibration when the time is right. Ooh, powerful. 24 hours after the experience, I began to piece together some indicators that this was indeed a journey headed into a dumpster fire from the start. 2 nights before the journey, I succumbed to what I knew was a bad idea. I went out in New York, my old hometown, and what I did was excessive and out of sync with who I want to be. The old me, the number, the escape artist. Perhaps that self-sabotaging was part of the plan. I, paid in a way I can't ever afford to repeat. And then there is the text exchange between me and Ilan the day before the journey began. I was grasping for a lifeline, kind of last minute. And was he administering tough love for my own good or not hearing me? I don't know, but I texted him and I said, hey, I don't know. I think maybe I shouldn't go. Maybe it's not the right time. I went out. I did these things. I don't know if I should come. And he texted me back. He said, no, you should come. All's good. And I was like, oh, man. Okay, didn't get out of it. Well, when I arrived to the sanctuary, there were painters kind of around the house, paper roll on the floors, a dog kind of clanking around, coming in and out of the room. Didn't feel as zen as the first time, but my ego had clearly taken over, feeding me negative vibes, right? So I was just noticing anything negative. But look, this man had nailed the first journey, so maybe I was just nervous and everything would be pooping rainbows 2.0. Did he overshoot on the second one? Maybe he nailed that. Maybe he nailed that journey too, and it just required me getting nailed. Exactly 1 month ago, after the first one, I flew home from New York and I wrote effusively about the most incredible magical healing event I'd ever experienced. A month later, back on the plane, heading home again, I don't know. I was lost. What had happened? So I called Adam, the guy who first told me about the healing powers of psilocybin on that flight from Idaho to Los Angeles back in the very beginning of September. I told him my second journey was brutal. And then he said those magic words, so was mine. What a relief. Then Ilan's sweet wife, Louisa, reached out with the most incredible, insightful exchange that sort of built on what Adam suggested, that I did indeed get the journey I needed. She eloquently wrote to me, journeys reveal what is in your subconscious. Your first experience was very positive and allowed you to see the possibility for joy and inner peace that you can be, like a preview. Important and powerful journeys are challenging and show you what's getting in the way of your best and highest self. The shadows, tendencies, and characteristics that are all ego-driven and leave you suffering and disliking yourself because of your constant betrayal to your true nature. Something goes on for you that you live with always. Deep anxiety, fear, lack of self-love, disappointment in you and the world. It may not have been the best of settings yesterday, but it's not the reason for the almost unmanageable feelings. The extreme anxiety and disappointment compared to the last journey, it's too extreme. Do you live in extremes? Stop thinking and figuring out why this happened. You won't be able to. Your persona, the protective, performative, self-betraying one, revealed itself unbeknownst to you. It was extremely uncomfortable. Truth is that that's where you live most of the time, is in anxiety and fear-driven performative behaviors. You felt them. You didn't see them. You didn't identify them, but they were just below the surface and they couldn't come out. Perhaps you stopped them from coming out, like they were too painful to see and feel. Deep distrust of self. Remember, the anxiety is the symptom, not the disease. And you're focusing on the symptoms, not the source. Who are you? Do you live in constant self-betrayal of your true nature, lack of self-trust? Leave the women out of this. This is no time to be focusing on which woman is better for you or who the right person is, where she is, when that. Now is not the time to be looking for that. You want to focus on what's got me, who owns me. That I got so unwound yesterday should make you very curious about your behaviors and tendencies. And they're none outside of you, not the paper or the dog or anything else. Something has you and wants you to see and feel it, and you want to run away. Now, that's not for a text, but you got the idea, I hope. We can talk, but leave the blame of circumstance and disappointment and, not getting what you want, and dig deep. With love, Louisa. Wow. My response to that was, okay, that was helpful. There's something to this self-betrayal, not rising to my true nature on a consistent basis. Literally 2 days before the journey, I sabotaged the man I want to be. What was that? Who am I? Is a great question. I know, and it's time to only see that man. To which she said, deep down from childhood, you made a declaration about yourself. You may remember, you may have forgotten, but whatever. It's still running you. Like, I'm not good enough, or these deep-rooted convictions about who we are allow us to betray our true nature. Or even when something happened that you did as a kid and you decided you needed to punish you for it. You don't remember this, but from that point on, you will sneakily punish yourself in ways you won't notice to satisfy the ego that declared, punishment to me, I'm bad. Going out, flirting with girls or whatever it is, or drinking too much. What the hell was that about? Right before the journey? Go deep. On the surface, you were bored, mischievous, whatever. Doesn't matter. What did not click in and say, what red light danger? Who was talking to you? Your little boy ego? I want what I want when I want it, and I can have it. Perhaps. Where's the adult higher self? And so there you went betraying your nature and then paying the price, which is always there to pay because you didn't bother to examine who is speaking to me to do this. Constant awareness and discipline until you are so facile with knowing who's speaking. This is simple work, not complicated. Awareness and discipline, none of which you had. You poisoned your well and you hated yourself after. Guilt, shame, anger, etc. And we wonder why we have no self-love because we live in self-betrayal and lack of presence. And by the way, don't beat yourself up. These are your lessons to learn. Welcome them. Have gratitude for them. Don't poison the well again with shadows like the guilt and shame and bad boy Billy. Great lesson. So, what is it that's keeping me and maybe keeping you from your future self, right? What is it that I hide from? What is it that I hide from those, who I love or who love being my friend, but that hurts those that truly love me? Is it shame? Is it guilt? Is it a fear of abandonment? Is it imposter syndrome? I don't know. Where's the rot? So Adam, the man who introduced the whole concept to me, connected me to Keith Crossley, an expert in post-journey integration. He wrote a book called State Within Light, about taming the ego and ultimately achieving enlightenment. And he's going to join me in a moment. But first, we turn to Ilan, my facilitator, who led me in the sanctuary on journey number 1, which I describe as pooping rainbows. It was all so unbelievable. And then also journey number 2. And he knows how tough that was for me. Ilan, hello, my friend.
Hi, Billy. Good to be back with you again.
So it is great. And, you know, the opening line, the big line is you get the journey you need, not the one you want. I guess I got the journey I needed. I really believe that I'm beginning to see that I did. I'm interested from you. What did I look like?
Well, you certainly didn't look like whatever was going on for you. Uh, you know, Most of that stuff is internal. Coming out of it, you look like you went through a tsunami.
Yeah.
But, that's not so bad from my place of looking. When I see people go through that kind of what I call the hero's journey, when you're in it, it never looks as good as it is when you get out of it and you have a few days to recover from it, and you realize that if you can go through something, and what they call everything else is, a walk in the park.
So did I look? What did I look like? Did you said in the beginning that I looked like I was smiling in the beginning, and then did you notice a change?
The smile disappeared, but I knew you were working. You can see the amount of effort going into the release of those deep inner wounds. And that's what was starting to show up, and they were being released for the very first time.
It was like it was a struggle, you know. Did you have an idea watching me what was happening? Like you had probably seen this before.
I saw it on your first, which is why I let you know right from the beginning that you're going to get what you need, not necessarily what you want. And I wanted to make sure that you knew that going into your first journey, because if I hadn't said that, you would have been taken totally by surprise about what happened. So at least we had something to fall back on, that there was that recognition that not all journeys are, rainbows and unicorns and butterflies, that at times there will be, depending on your nature and depending on what you're ready for. You obviously were ready a lot sooner than most. And I was just listening to your conversation about, what happens to us when we're very young, the decisions that we make. You're one of those that are really, you're working through this stuff in a heroic way that allows you to go and have that difficult journey so early in your, process.
We talked about the first journey when I call it pooping rainbows because it was just like so beautiful. I mean, my daughters, my ex-wife, my mother, my father, my brother, it was just so incredible. And I think when we say magic, this plant medicine is magical. Maybe that was what I needed in order to keep me engaged in the process to get to in other words, it showed me the end, right? We talked about this as a preview. You see the end, like, okay, we're going to get there. And then journey number 2 was, but there are things that you're holding in there that have got to come out. And so if I hadn't seen if number 2 was number 1, it's not likely that I ever would go any further and I'd just be like, I'd be done. I think the magical part of it is it had to show me the end in order to make me, give me the courage and the confidence to keep fighting.
Yeah, that's well said. That, the first journey, I've never seen somebody actually have an experience where they're not going to see that beautiful rainbow. And, it highlights a lot of times what will occur later on down the road. You'll get previews. It's really kind of magical the way the whole experience works, and you never get something that you're not ready for. So, the first one, they prepare you and they give you the good feeling and they give you the great insights and the potential of who you could be. And then, if you're ready on the second one, not everybody has that, by the way. I mean, people who are really locked up in fear and apprehension won't get that on a second journey. The subconscious knows what you can handle and what you can't handle. You obviously were able to handle the second one so soon.
Yeah, I think I would have. I think I would have. Every other time, whenever things get difficult in life or uncomfortable, I bail on the stillness. I'm the first one to hit go out with the guys, go do something distracting, instead of sitting in the stillness and working through the uncomfortable feelings. I hit eject every time. And I think I needed to see that first journey of what the blissful life, can feel like. And then the second one was it highlighted how uncomfortable it is for me to sit and deal with those feelings. So
Yeah.
right, and it was like, and it ended. It didn't give me the satisfaction in the end. I ended in agony.
Yeah, that agony that you ended in was really to give you a good idea of what it is that's buried inside of you, that struggle, that core source of suffering. And for some reason, you're in the laser lane of this work, so you want to barrel through whatever that is so that you can break through and have the kind of feeling that is your birthright feeling.
I think Louisa, your wife, said it well, and she said there's this self-betrayal, there's this self-sabotaging that you engage in to sort of deprive yourself of your true nature. Right? And your true nature is really, at my age, at 54, I should be living only to my true nature, living only up to my code of values and what they are, not people pleasing others or going on, golf trips and, having too much fun with the boys and always regretting. It's almost like I keep doing that in order to stay in the same feedback loop. I don't know, not to get...
Yeah. That is exactly the way it is for most people. We kind of tend to override whatever pain and tell ourselves stories to kind of put on a mask of I'm okay. And I know that many times in my younger years, certain people say, I see sadness in your eyes. I was really a pro at putting on a mask of I'm okay, and betray myself and deceive myself into thinking that I was okay. And truly, my background and my history in life was never feeling okay, even though my face thought that I was okay.
Is it your feeling that the journey, the plant medicine, it knows where you are? It knows where you are and what needs to be addressed. So, yeah.
You ask a really good question. Does the journey know? What is it that knows?
Yes.
And there's a thing called the universal intelligence, and in that all-knowing, something magical and mysterious happens, and we don't really know how to explain it, because once we explain it and identify it, then that ain't it anymore. The subconscious knows everything. Everything's locked up in there. Everything that you can. That's why when hypnosis is being performed, things come up to surface that people didn't even know they had that experience at that moment, and they wondered, that really occurred? Didn't it occur? Did I make this up? And a lot of stuff is made up, and the way that we look at life and the way that we perceive life is really a reflective idea of what we think. But this isn't about what we think anymore. This is something that is locked up deep inside, that subconscious, that I'm not sure if it's the element of the heart and the gut and God, universal intelligence, that manifest this movie for us. Some people think that, this is not what reality is all about, the way that we perceive it and the way that we know it. We're just avatars acting out something. So I don't know if it's that divine connection with the subconscious that manifests all this for us and helps us. I presume that a lot of those elements are part of it. So, to say that it's the journey, to say that it's your subconscious, or if it's all of the elements brought together that just give this divine protocol. And that's the way I kind of look at it. It's a divine protocol that you can't address as it. You can't define it. You can't give it a label.
My mom used to say to me, charm won't get you everywhere, when I was doing terribly in school and all these things. And I think I sort of have run out of charm. It got me pretty far. But in the end, I've glossed over some really important things, or some important traumas, or some important, and how those traumas have manifested into behaviors that are slightly self-sabotaging or lead me to, empty feelings. I've tried to kind of dance my way around it and be the, Billy Bush it and give it the boom ba 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 bing. And then the journey kind of got me and said, okay, no. This is what it feels like, what you're glossing over. This is what it feels like when you can't gloss it over. If you never let it go, this is it in its raw, truest, rawest, most guttural form. And now you got to go. And something tells me that when I deal with that, which I am now, and doing it religiously, that when it is addressed, that the journey will say, good. Good, there you are. We find a different composition in you now. And now we'll address and give the journey to that person, because the person that got the second one was exactly the person that, that it like we said, what you needed.
This work is not for the faint of heart, for sure.
No, it's not.
And but that's the good thing about it. If it came easy, it might not be as worthwhile. But
it's called work.
It's called work. It's called work.
It sure is.
And the work isn't necessarily, during the journey. It's in between the journeys, like the way that you did it. And you really came through it with grace. You had your difficulty. You got into your, deep, dark side of yourself and saw that maybe I can't handle this, or I don't want to handle this. And yet something allowed you to go from that and transition into, I'm getting it. I'm seeing it. I'm now recognizing what the value of all that was. And that's the beauty of this work, is that as long as you don't give up on yourself and go back to the dogma that you were living in, the beliefs that held you back from, really facing the trials and tribulations of transitioning into the potential of you. Who could you possibly be? And the journey's just, they know how to do it. They just, the plants working with your, whatever those forces are that lie within us, the mixology just comes out like, wait till it's done, wait till it's over, wait till this anxiety dissipates a little bit, and all of a sudden it's like the light switch turned on and you become illuminated.
Yeah, not for the faint of heart, but if you want to do the work, and the only reason to not explore is if you're afraid of what you might find. And I think I was afraid of what I might find, and in the second journey, but with a little bit of distance from it, I say, I'm not afraid of what I found there. I'm interested in what I found there, and I want to fix what I found there. I want to heal, not fix, heal what I found there, so that I can live my life going forward, faithful to my true nature.
You become the authentic you, the person you're born to become. We all kind of get lost on the way. That's the name of the game, Go screw up your life and then come back and bring it back to order again.
Isn't that something? Yep. In that way, we're all the same.
we're all the same. We all come with two basic elements. One of them is fear, and the other one is the one you addressed earlier, whether it be lack, not feeling good enough, feeling, not smart enough, not good looking enough, not enough money. So, people come into life with those two parameters already painting a picture that we're going to have to fulfill. We're going to have to live out making that our truth, that I'm not smart enough and I'm not good enough, and finding all the evidence to validate that. This work kind of, disrupts all of those beliefs that we've developed over the years. And it disrupts them and has you look at them from a different vantage point of more compassion, less judgment against yourself, against others, a newfound conviction to your life that your life is much more than what you thought it was.
That's it. That's what the journey takes you to a place, to a state of consciousness, to a higher, a vibration so high that you can't not see it. That everything else that you would use to obscure what it is about yourself that you don't like or that's sort of toxic in you, everything is now, those barriers are gone. The journey takes away those barriers and you're left with it. And then you decide what you want to do with it. Do you want to go and heal that or not?
You're always left with choice.
That's right. Ilan, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Ever
constant touch. Thank you for being with me on this.
My pleasure. Take care, Billy.
A special man right there, folks. A very, very special man. And when he said, I'm not good enough, I'm not smart enough, did we all want to say the Smalley line? Did we? I am good enough. I am smart enough. And gosh darn it, people like me. All right, coming up, this applies to all of us. How is that voice in your head doing, right? Do you feel like there's a bit of negative narrative running amok in you? Well, it's not you. It's a liar that dwells inside you, weaponizing the past, causing doubt about the future. Ilan just talked about it. We all have it. It's the ego. And it needs to be called out. Keith Crossley, a guest that I hope can have an amazing impact on your life. He's already having one on mine, is coming up. But first, I want to show you how I use our sponsor, Prize Picks, in an attempt to make a little money here, right? I got to pay for all these people. I love this site. You find two or more players, and you pick more or less. That's it. More or less under their projected stats. And you can play in over 40 states, including California and Texas. So let me take you through it here. We did Thursday night football. We're looking at it, okay, tomorrow night for me, since we're doing this on a Wednesday, Justin Jefferson and the Minnesota Vikings going up against Justin Herbert and the LA Chargers. So they're saying, look, rushing, receiving, touchdown, will Justin Jefferson have more or less than a half? In other words, will he have at least one? Yes, I do think he will. And I think Justin Herbert will throw for at least 2 passing touchdowns. So I'm taking the more on that 1.5. Wish me luck. Prize Picks will give you $50 when you play your first $5 lineup. So win or lose, you win. Use the promo code HOTMICS and download the Prize Picks app right now. All right, Hot Mics rolls on here. Brought to you by LAGOLF as well, our longtime sponsor. I am joined by Keith Crossley, author of State Within Light, a book that gets brutally honest about what it means to live with awareness in a world built on distraction. Keith's work blends psychology, spirituality, real-world grit. It challenges the ego instead of catering to it. We're going to talk about the subconscious, too. In fact, Keith and I just had a personal session about an hour and a half ago. So he joins me right now. There you are, sir. I feel like we just continue our session here, only now we have an audience.
Nice to see you.
Hey, I don't know if you got to listen to Ilan a little bit there, but you know what you and I just spoke about, I'd love to pick up on, and that is you made this comment to me about, and I think what Psilocybin Journey number 2 did for me is take away, like I said to Ilan, take away the barriers, take away all the things that could obscure your view of what ails you, right? Of those things that are troubling you. You said, basically, you know, what we're doing, the work that we're doing is taking a flashlight to the subconscious closet. You're opening up the closet, all the things that are hidden inside you, and you're looking in there and it's like, oh, ooh, ooh, all that stuff. And when you do the work, you just open up and you got to, all you do is see an empty closet and you're out of there. But tell me about or tell people about what you think that psilocybin journey number 2 did, and what work is there for me and maybe others who are listening along and can relate to do.
The real work is done in the dark. It's not done in the light. The things that are easy for us to face, the things that are easy for us to feel are not where the actual healing lies. So if you think about what the subconscious is, we have basically hidden away from parts of ourselves truths that were painful to accept, feelings that were painful to feel, experiences that we never wanted to happen again. And the ego kind of tucks them back there in that little closet, to use your terminology. And so the healing process is simply saying, I'm tired of running from all of my pain. I'm tired of all of these self-sabotaging behaviors that I do, and I can't fully understand why. I'm going to go into this closet with the flashlight and start to see where the skeletons are, which is a very scary process. But ultimately, what therapy should do and what a psilocybin journey should do is take you into that darkness in a healthy, appropriate way, show you what's there that you need to look at. And the beauty of it is that darkness can only exist in the absence of light. It hides in the shadows. That's where pain lives. And so whenever we root those things out and expose them to the light in a healthy way, that it's no longer dark anymore. And so we no longer need to hide ourselves from reality by placing things in the subconscious. So psilocybin is just one tool to remove or temporarily remove the barrier between conscious and subconscious.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not, and I say to people, if you want to look into the psilocybin journey, do it. Look into it. It is, if you had asked me a day or two after psilocybin journey number 1, do it, I'd say everyone must. And I think I did. I said, everyone's got to do this. And then I did number 2. And if you asked me the next day after number 2, I would have said, don't do it. Oh my God, it's too much. But then a couple days go by and you realize, wow, it opened the closet and it showed all the things in there that I don't want out. And those things are what keep you doing the same thing over and over again, like a one-legged duck swimming, in a pond. So it actually was very helpful, and it does meet that definition of, you get the journey you need, not the one you want. There are other ways, I'm sure. So, everyone is on their own in doing their own research and seeing if it matches them. But one thing for sure is, your chapters on the ego are really, really fascinating to me. And what you said at the beginning was ego equals the voice in your head. That's it. Everybody can relate to that. That voice in your head. Oh, hey, Netflix is taking, 16 podcasts. They're taking 16 podcasts. They're going to platform them. They're going to be huge. They're going to be amazing. The first thing is, they won't take mine. What is that? That's the negative
ego.
voice.
Yeah, the ego is basically the protective voice that all of us develop over time to insulate us from mental and emotional pain. So if you think about the brain's primary function is survival. And so the best way that it helps to protect us is through fear. So it's protecting us from physically dying. But the ego is responsible for protecting us from mental and emotional pain. The paradox, though, is that the more we try to protect ourselves against mental and emotional pain, the more we have to live in protection and fear, which is its own version of suffering. So to transcend our ego or go beyond our ego, it's recognizing that voice, although what it's telling us feels real and it feels true, it's ultimately a construct that is only real because we believe it to be true. But the moment we start second guessing those stories, going, I've told myself this about myself my entire life. What if that's actually not true? What if that actually just came from a wound that I never resolved from 20 years ago? Now, all of a sudden, we are taking what feels like behavior that makes no rational, logical sense in the form of self-sabotage and going, oh, it actually does make sense because my ego's been using it to protect me from pain that I felt way back when. and it doesn't want me to feel that again, but yet in its attempt to protect me, it's actually self-sabotaging everything that I care about. So it's quite simply learning that the voice that we hear in our heads is actually not us. And the way that we know that is because we are the one who can observe the voice. So in the same way that if I am looking at a TV, I don't mistake the TV as who I am. Yet we mistake, and most of humanity mistakes the voice in our head as who we are when we are the awareness that can observe the voice.
Our behaviors sort of just feed that original. It's a what would be called a feedback loop, right? Our behaviors sort of we go out and do things that are not, in line with our true nature to feed that negative voice, so we can say, you see, there you go, and everybody's affirming each other in this circle. What psilocybin does. What's interesting is it takes you over the barrier into a higher state, and it opens new neural pathways. It is our job then to walk those pathways, because really we're just using the same neural pathways most of the time, and they're mostly negative. Mostly the information and the conversations in my head are negative, and that's probably true with 80% of people, if not more.
100%. And I'll give you one example. If someone has a deep-seated fear of abandonment, what'll happen is they'll get close to somebody, and that feels amazing initially. But then they feel vulnerable, which makes them realize they're not protecting themselves. So then the ego starts to tell stories. You're not safe. You're going to get hurt. This is what happens to you all the time. So then we create arguments or criticize and create distance in the relationship. And then temporarily the ego goes, I feel safer because now I'm away from this vulnerability. But then what's happened is we've pushed our partner away. So they start to pull away out of self-protection. And now we've created the very abandonment that we say we want to avoid.
Oh.
So now I've literally self-fulfilled prophecy, this whole thing creating abandonment. So then I go into shame knowing that I caused it. And then the following stages are I want reconciliation. So I apologize to my partner. Don't leave me. I'm so sorry. Then we move into reconnection. And then the process starts all over again because we've never dealt with that core wound of abandonment. So every self-sabotaging behavior is really revealing that there's an unconscious wound that you have not dealt with, and you need this protection pattern to help you avoid it.
So what can people do if their, psilocybin journey sounds like too much, feels like too much for them? What can they do if this applies to their life?
What I would recommend is if you're going to go see a therapist, the first thing you say in that session is, I am ready to face and feel everything that I am running from. I know it's going to be scary. I know it's going to be hard, but I want you to help me to dig to the roots of the things that I am most afraid to see and most afraid to accept. Because those are always showing you the pathway to your freedom, but you have to face it. That's why we use the terminology facing our demons. Whatever it is that you are most afraid to face and to feel is showing you the exact place where you're going to find the freedom and the peace that you're looking for, but you're going to have to work for it.
But how many people can articulate that?
You don't need to be able to articulate it. You need to go to your therapist and say, I'm ready to do the work. Help me to dig in.
Help me to dig in. Help me to find it, because maybe it's just been happening for so long in life, you don't even know that certain events from your past might have led to the one thing that, you don't know the connect the dots.
At the end of the day, the way I describe it is there's ultimately a feeling that you are afraid of. So we think it's the events themselves that cause the problem, but we're not actually afraid of an event. We're afraid of how that event made us feel. So whenever we go into therapy and we're kind of rummaging around in the past, all of those stories are triggering physiological sensations. They're triggering feelings within us. That feeling of what it felt like to be alone or to be rejected or to be disapproved of. So ultimately, we have to learn how to feel the full range of human emotion again. And the way that we do that is by willingly going into that discomfort. You could think of it like exposure therapy. I'm learning how to sit with and tolerate all of the very feelings that I have spent my entire life distracting myself from, numbing myself from, running from. So healing is simply the process of willingly feeling and facing whatever it is that you are running from.
And you and I also talked this morning about meditation, which is just I'm going to start, really committing to. I made the joke that it's like meditation is like yoga, right? People are like, yeah, I don't do yoga because I'm not really that limber. Well, that's the whole point of doing yoga. I mean, your meditation is going to the mental gymnasium. It's going to the workout room for your brain, just like you do your body, right? And your brain is constantly being hijacked by the voice in your head, by the ego. It's taking you to these narratives that are eating you alive, right? So meditation is just simply working out. It's working out, going to, okay, my mind is going off on this direction, whoop, without judging it or without getting mad or frustrated. Just pull it back to the center here and listen to the whatever's present. Could be the breeze in the trees, could be a chirping bird, could be a little music that you have playing in some headphones, or back to the center. And then, of course, you'll drift away again. It's just the exercise of getting back to the middle. And is the ego dead in the present?
The ego cannot exist in the present, because if you are 100% present, there's no need for this inner protector, this, voice in your head that's constantly trying to control everything and analyze everything, predict what's going to happen. And when you are 100% present, there is no need for that inner protector anymore. So presence is literally, by definition, the absence of ego. You are no longer living in your head, and you are actually living in your life.
That's it. Well, that's where we are. Thank you so much. I appreciate it, Keith. I'd like to see you tomorrow, the next day, and also on the weekend. What a great guy. Keith Crossley, State Within Light. I'm ripping through this book. It's so good. I can't recommend it enough. Thanks a million. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, Billy. See you soon.
Yeah, soon. Definitely. Can't be soon enough. You find the right person, you go all in. Okay. How about that? There you go. Psilocybin journey number 2. We gave you, how about the extremes, right? I think that's like the story of my life. I live in extremes. Like sometimes I'm like, oh my God, this is amazing. And then, holy shit. But I'm trying to articulate both here. There's so much here. I would just say for everybody, if there's one thing to take away here, start meditation. Just find a way to sit for 5 minutes and bring it back to the present moment as much as you can. And just do it, and 5 minutes becomes 10 minutes. That's great. If it comes twice a day, that's great. It's definitely where I know there are answers. Anyway, thank you for listening to this episode. Psilocybin journey number 3? Well, we don't know yet. I don't know. But if I do it, I'll tell you about it. That's it for us. Hot Mics with Billy Bush, presented by LAGOLF. Take your swing to the next level with LAGOLF's cutting-edge technology. Visit lagolf.com and upgrade your game. I just got the new irons. New iron shafts. I got it's a whole separate package. I'll let you know how it goes. Thanks for listening. We will see you back here tomorrow for Morning Mics. Make sure Morning Mics, 10 a.m. Eastern, 7 Pacific. We just live chat about this and every other thing, all kinds of stuff. Hop in the chat. We'll see you tomorrow morning. And thanks for listening.